Lizzo is known as much for her politics as her art. Her focus on inclusivity really made fans feel like she had their back. That explains the betrayal they felt this week as a new lawsuit rocks Lizzo's reputation. Today, Lizzo's lawsuit and more in our weekly wrap. I'm Amil Niazi, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. This is Commotion. Really, ever since she hit the scene, Lizzo's had this incredible reputation. Her songs like Good as Hell and Boys are full of joy and messages about loving bodies of all shapes and sizes. She charmed us. She really charmed me with the flute-playing TikToks, and she always gave off this impression that she just doesn't care what anyone thinks. That kind of confidence almost made her seem hater-proof. And let's be real, she just seems like a genuinely nice person. So the news this week that she was hit with a lawsuit just landed a little heavier. 3 of Lizzo's former backup dancers are suing her, her dance captain, and her production company. She's accused of everything from sexual harassment to creating a hostile work environment. Ariana Davis is one of the dancers in the lawsuit. She was also on Lizzo's reality show, Watch Out for the Big Girls. Here's a statement Ariana made to the press.
I'm so new to this industry, and for this to be my first experience is really crazy. Nobody speaks up because they're so scared for their jobs. I was terrified for my job.
Lizzo denied the allegations on Instagram. Here to unpack this story and some of the week's other big news, we have Ashley Ray, Hanna Flint, and Jen Sookfong. Thank you all for being here. This is a big story, so let's get right into it. Ashley, the accusations against Lizzo, like I mentioned, range from sexual, religious, and racial harassment to discrimination, assault, and even false imprisonment. What is some of the stuff that you're hearing about this lawsuit that really stands out to you?
Yeah, I think a lot of the examples in the lawsuit show us what kind of environment Lizzo was running in her production company, in her dance company. A lot of this is also towards her dance captain, who is all basically charged with instilling the same values that Lizzo did, that force girls to not be able to take bathroom breaks. I think for me, that was one of the worst moments where a girl said she felt like if she went to the bathroom, she would lose her job. So she soiled herself. And the dance company gave her a see-through leotard to wear with no under protection, so everyone could just kind of see her, which obviously is very uncomfortable. And she took it as a punishment. There's also some sections where it seems like Lizzo blurred the line between what a boss should be and a friend should be to her employers. She took them to strip clubs in Amsterdam, forced them to touch performers, engage with performers in some ways that were pretty shocking. There's a detail about a banana that I don't know that I can even talk about the details of what they did with that banana, but she forced her performers to engage, which I think just shows us how she took advantage of the power dynamic she had over these girls to get them to do what she wanted. And obviously the most shocking one is that one girl was fired for having weight difficulties and admitting to having an eating disorder, which is pretty shocking considering, Lizzo is someone who is supposed to be so body positive. The entire point of the show is to accept people of all body sizes. And to hear that still, even after getting that role, these girls were subjected to this is just really heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I just have to remind us that these are accusations. They haven't been proven in a court of law. But Jen, after the story broke, the backlash was really swift. We saw people reacting right away. What kind of reactions have you seen from other people, from some celebrities as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the fastest sort of reactions was from someone who had been hired to film her documentary, Sophia Nale Allison, a filmmaker who made also some allegations about a toxic workplace and how she ended up getting sidelined, and documentary ended up being made by a white male filmmaker. Beyonce at a show left Lizzo out, a lyric about Lizzo out of one of her songs. And that got a lot of chatter going to the point where Beyonce's mother, Miss Tina, actually said something. I think she kind of denied it, kind of didn't, that it had anything to do with what was going on. And I think that it speaks to sort of the influence that Lizzo has had over the last few years over the culture, that people now, once the floodgates open, once people start making allegations, other people feel safe enough to be able to tell their stories too. And it also speaks to like how big she is, how famous she is, how much power and influence she has. If Beyonce is leaving you out of a song, that means a lot.
Mm-hmm. I saw, the reaction I saw was like, oh, she's done now because of the Beyonce.
I do want to say Beyonce did not say Solange's name either. And the reason is because she chose to say Erykah Badu's name 4 times because Erykah Badu called her out for stealing a look from her. So it was more that she was using this moment to shade Badu, because you hear her go, Badu, 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 which is her going, is this what you need, Erykah Badu? Do you need me to show you this much attention? So
oh my God, there's so many layers.
There's so many layers.
So we're all waiting to see at the next show what she does.
Oh, Beyonce does nothing by accident. If there's anything we know, she does nothing by accident.
That is very true. So, Hanna, I had mentioned that Lizzo denied the accusations. She called them, quote, outrageous and sensationalized, saying they come from former employees who, quote, already publicly admitted they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional. Not exactly apologetic. What do you think of her response?
I find it so interesting that she posted something so quickly. If I were her, I would have stopped and waited a bit, because all of this is happening so fast.
So fast.
I mean, and not just, kind of, I think what you said, Jen, about people coming out and feeling emboldened to do it, because now, as we know, like even with the Me Too and the Harvey, not saying this is Harvey Weinstein, but silence breakers, right? People don't feel comfortable doing it on their own. They need other people to do it. And I think, if anything, that's amazing that bringing this story to light has actually given a wider context. And of course, if it was just one allegation, maybe we'd be like, is this, is it true? But I think there's too much now at this point to not investigate and take some of these allegations very seriously. But there's this thing online where everyone wants to just jump and say something first, like quote tweet and all that. And it's just really interesting to see how, there's all these parasocial relationships online where, like, I'm not invested in any celebrity that much to be like so kind of broken if they did something bad. I always think that once you get to a certain position in this industry where you are a globally loved icon, where you have everyone around you saying yes, it's more of a surprise if they are actually perfect, if they are angelic, and this is me being super cynical, but I think there's always something. And, I think her response, I would have waited. These are big allegations, and she did a little 4-page, like tiny little 4-page, and she can't talk about everything because you can't admit something in public. You can use it against her. So, I think for me, it's really difficult. There's so much nuance to it, and it's kind of, I'm very much in the kind of the group of people like, let's see how this plays out. The same stuff with like the Jonathan Majors stuff later, recently, I just want to be like, okay, but it's like, I want to hear all party stories and actually want to get a bigger conversation about workplace culture in the entertainment industry, because it is so hard to manage. Ashley, as you were saying, like the line sometimes is crossed between a boss and a friend. Some of these things happen where something you could be, in an environment where you're on tour together, you're going to hotels together, you become this like family. So it's really hard to kind of have that separation between the professional and personal. So this is why it's a thorny subject to like get through and understand it. It's, again, I'm trying to like toe the line here, but it's always going to be disappointing.
Yes, that's true. Ashley, there's also been, this really harsh side to what's happening online in talking about this. I mentioned Lizzo, known for inclusivity, known for sort of pushing body positivity, but also, since the moment she arrived on the scene, she has faced near constant, bullying, fat phobia, misogynistic attacks, racist attacks. Do you think, any part of that is, having a hand in how quickly the backlash is coming and how fierce it's been online?
Oh, absolutely. Because people aren't even centering the hatred on what these dancers are saying happened or their story. They're already bringing up past things they hated about Lizzo, her wearing a revealing outfit to a Lakers game that, if a skinny person wore it, no one would have cared. I've already seen a lot of TikToks that are like, I never liked her music anyway. Now I can openly hate her. I always hated her because she was fat, but now we can be open about it. So I think people are using this as a moment to just rush to fat phobia homophobia, racism, they love to have I always knew this person. I always thought their vibes were off. They always love to have this gotcha moment of, oh, see, I'm so great for not liking this artist. But I think people aren't wrong to have fallen for Lizzo's message. If I had a daughter, I would want her listening to Lizzo and feeling good as hell. It's something that is infectious and I think brought a lot of joy to people. But on the other side of it, there are so many people who get angry seeing a big Black woman live her truth, live happily, have someone who loves her, win awards. So I think this is a moment where people are happy that they get to bring her down, knowing what she's accomplished.
Jen, just quickly, I want to give the last question to you. You wrote a book called Superfan, How Pop Culture Broke My Heart. I know there's a lot of brokenhearted fans out there just feeling a sense of betrayal and loss. What advice do you have for them in taking this news?
I think that whatever initial experience a fan has had with Lizzo's music, maybe it was at a time you really needed to hear it in your life. Maybe you found it really inspirational or you had a really good time. That experience still exists. It's not invalid. It's not disappeared. And you can still have that nice memory of that experience in your life. But the other thing I want people to remember is that our whole system of celebrity and making people really famous is toxic from beginning to end. We elevate people who are relentlessly ambitious, who are often, self-involved. Those are the people who succeed. And in a lot of ways, the system is something that we need to examine. It is about the individual, of course, but it's also about how we prop up people in this late stage capitalism to be famous and have this much power and then misuse it. So it's okay. You can have your experience. You can feel sad. I'm your therapist now.
If you're just tuning in, I'm Amil Niazi sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. You're listening to Commotion, and I am speaking with Hanna Flint, Ashley Ray, and Jen Sookfong Lee about the big arts and culture stories this week. Now we're going to shift gears to something more cheerful, hopefully. Actor Randall Park is making his directorial debut this week with the movie Shortcomings. Here's a bit of that trailer.
I was practically the only non-white person in my entire high school.
And you never felt discriminated against?
I definitely did, but not because I was Asian.
Because of your inherent bad personality.
Exactly.
You have problems with anger, depression, your weird self-hatred.
You could benefit from a little self-hatred.
Shortcomings follows Ben, a struggling Japanese-American filmmaker who runs an art house theater in San Francisco. It's adapted from a graphic novel by Adrian Tomine. Okay, Jen, Randall Park's been in the industry for a while. We know him from Fresh Off the Boat and Always Be My Maybe. What do you think about his turn as a director and, what he's trying to say here about Asian representation on screen?
I think it's really hard not to root for Randall Park. Everyone loves Randall Park. I hope we never know that he's a terrible person. Anyway, I should say fingers crossed. I think the best thing about Shortcomings, and I think this is something Randall Park quite consciously did, is that he presents us with all these different ways of being an Asian person and grappling with your Asian identity, right? So there you have Ben, who alternately denies and hates his Asian identity. And then you have Miko, who runs full tilt into a Rice King relationship. And all of these different things they're different ways of sort of behaving poorly as in regards to your Asian identity. And he gives us all of it without resolving any of it. So I think it speaks to sort of the opportunity he's given us to see all these different ways of grappling with identity, even if a lot of the things that the characters do are things that we loathe, which I certainly did. A lot of the decisions they made me really angry. But that's life, right? You're going to see people in your life. My cousin Kevin, he's made some decisions I don't like, and that's fine.
Poor Kevin. Hanna, it's also a little bit of a send up, a bit of a roast on the film industry. What did you make of it as a film critic?
Oh, God, it was very triggering. It felt like I was watching film Twitter conversations happen in real time. It was some of the stuff that comes up. It was so on the nose. And I think that's what some of those moments great for me. And I can't tell if that's because I'm so aware of these conversations and seen it or been involved in it. So it was kind of a bit too much for me, but maybe the kind of average moviegoer might kind of learn something about this conversation and about like how like, you know, something like the way it sends up Crazy Rich Asian in the beginning. It's like, do we want success like this? And I'm always like, in that conversation, I'm like, well, you know, how many like films have been made about rich white people that we love in TV shows? The OC, like Dynasty, come on, like, can we have Crazy Rich Asians just have a little bit of fun? And yes, and be super wealthy. But I think what's interesting is that the kind of using a kind of filmmaker who's very much like into like classic, like new wave. He runs a movie theater as well. Like, I find it just quite tropey in that sense where like his stuff where he talks about the films, I kind of wanted that a bit more. I wanted him to lean into his like kind of snobbiness far more roughly, far more snarkily. I feel like this is a film made by Randall Park, a very nice guy. And it speaks to that niceness because everything's just a little bit too nice. I wanted it to have a bit more edge. I didn't really find myself kind of laughing too much about it. A couple of moments. Maybe that's because, you know, Justin H. Min is too much of a hottie to kind of dislike. You know, if it was, you know, a lot of this reminded me of like The Social Network. You know, there's a scene where one of the Debbie Ryan's character, Sasha, does a kind of basically the same kind of opening on Social Network where Rooney Mara's character breaks up with Mark Zuckerberg, and it's like, I'm not breaking up with you because you're a nerd, I'm breaking up because you're an asshole. And this is like kind of riffing on the same thing. And it's that, you know, you kind of love that there is a moment where you can have a film like this where it is like an Asian perspective, like getting into the diversity of that being Asian is not a monolith, especially in America and the diaspora. But, you know, I think it kind of, you know, pulled its punches a bit.
Yeah. Ashley, I want to give you the last word on this because I know you're rooting for Randall Park. What did you think of the movie?
Yeah, I mean, I love that Randall Park sort of got his Garden State moment. It does feel like a...
That's so perfect.
Yeah, it's very auteur-driven, yeah.
Yeah, I love that it gave me a sense of how he treats story, his eye as a director, and I loved that part of it. But I truly also, I have to agree, it pulled punches. I hated Ben and I wanted the movie to hate him as much as I did.
Yeah.
It knows he's not a good guy. It knows he is dealing with self-hatred, but it never fully calls him out on that because it's too busy going, well, everyone has issues. I think my favorite character was Alice, who is played by Sherry Cola. Absolutely stole so many scenes to me. And I think Alice's relationship is supposed to be Ben's kind of big consequence. She leaves him and that's sort of his rock bottom. But it didn't sell for me because she's just so still happy to have him in her life. She's still just, oh, you're angry and you hate everything, but whatever, you know, you're still my buddy. So who cares? You know, sleep on my couch.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think on the positive side, more Randall Park films. Let's see him find his footing, just like Zach Braff, if I can say that. Okay, there's one more movie I really want to talk about. Everyone's buzzing about this movie at my house. My son cannot stop talking about it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is back. The reboot has just hit movie theaters. Take a listen to this.
Master Splinter has given us a very important mission for tonight. The target is across the street. We must use stealth and cunning to infiltrate the human world and retrieve Go-Gurt. All right, Donnie, you're on toiletries. Raph, you're stocking up the pantry. And Mikey, you're on junk food.
Sirski.
And remember, don't let any human see you. Because why? Humans are the demon scum of the earth.
That Go-Gurt line gets me every time. Why? I don't know. Jen, you just went to see this with your son. What did you both think?
Okay, so I asked him, what are your final thoughts and what are you going to allow me to say on radio? And he said, you can tell them I thought it was pretty good. He's 13. He is not.
That's rave reviews, right?
Yeah. For a 13-year-old, it is. But like both of us really loved it. We laughed a lot. The jokes are really good, as you would expect from something that has a Seth Rogen, production and like writing credit to it. The animation in particular is really great. It's very comic booky, very fun, a little messy, which I enjoy and I think suits the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who are a little bit messy. They're a little bit, they're teenagers. My kid actually has taken animation courses and he actually told me how they did it. It all went right over my head. I do not know how. He explained it. I don't know. And I thought it was just really charming. And Jackie Chan as Master Splinter is very, very funny. There is a scene where he makes a joke about the 3 Hollywood Chris's and it's really good. And everything, I really liked it. I laughed harder in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles than I did when I was watching Joyride. I don't know what that means, but it means something. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay, that is like a huge compliment. Ashley, I know you were a big TMNT fan as a kid. What did you think about the reboot?
I absolutely loved it. I think it is another amazing entry in the Seth Rogen superhero world. It's very much in the same tone of The Boys, Invincible, if you've watched those. And I love to see him really building his name on that. I think people are starting to go, oh yeah, Seth Rogen's superhero story, it truly is its own world that he builds. And so I loved seeing it come to life. I think, though, my favorite part was April O'Neil. We have an updated April O'Neil who is a Black girl with glasses. So I felt so seen and I loved it. And she's voiced by the incredible Ayo Edebiri, who just brings the character to life. I thought it was the most relatable April O'Neil I've ever seen. She's just so funny, but also, you know, that like dorky kind of vibe that Ayo brings to so many of her comedic roles. So I thought it was perfect. I thought it was a great update and reboot that felt relevant and didn't make me go, why are you doing this?
I love that. I mean, people are just going wild for this movie. Hanna, quickly, last word to you. The movie has 96% on Rotten Tomatoes already. Why do you think people are loving it so much?
Because it's not live action, and I feel like we should have a moratorium on any more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films in live action. They just look freaky. They look awful. And in this, the claymation is gorgeous, and the kind of mixed kind of textures of it with the kind of doodly lines for the lights, just amazing. I think, you know, I mean, Seth, yeah, he's come a long way since Green Hornet, Seth Rogen. I think, you know, this is a film that is definitely made by millennials. You can tell who grew up watching Ninja Turtles, who, you know, are listening to like NWA and all these kind of music. I mean, the Backstreet Needle drop was sensational, but it has a clear like Gen Z voice as well. Like they were throwing out lines like Riz, which is something that I've just learned the meaning of. And I think all of us have Riz. So that's great. And I think it really understands what it, like what it means to tell a superhero story about, you know, I kind of compare it a bit to like, you know, it's got a bit of a Hunchback of Notre Dame, these outsiders, these disfigured beings want to be accepted, but then also X-Men, you've got the kind of like mutants who are like, work with humans and no, kill humans, going on with Ice Cube playing the kind of Superfly character. And, you know, it's about them, the acceptance. And for this to be a New York story, I love it because one of my favorite things is when there's kind of the city comes out for the superheroes as well. It reminded me of Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi film. I do remember that scene when they're on the train and it's like, you want to get to Spider-Man? You got to go through me. Apologies for that terrible New York accent.
Yeah.
And it's just brilliant. And they give him his mask back. And there's a really beautiful final act sequence where it is the people coming together. So yeah, absolute joyous cinema.
Well, I love that everybody loves it. I can't wait to see it with my son again. Okay. I know we've talked about some awesome movies, but let's get into some of your picks for the weekend. What else should I check out? Jen, you first.
Okay, I've been watching a Korean reality competition show streaming on Netflix called Siren Survive the Island. And it's all female teams competing in this capture the flag situation. But the kicker is the teams are divided by profession. So there's police officers, athletes, firefighters, bodyguards, and stunt actors. And let me tell you, these ladies are in it, and I am also in it.
Okay, I want to be in it. Hanna, what about you?
It's this British thriller series called Hijack, starring Idris Elba. I came onto this because I have an Apple Screener account, and I watched one episode and went through 5 in a very quick succession. It's set on a plane. It's not your typical terrorist, kind of Arab Islamic terrorists. There's several storylines going on with different characters, different perspectives. It's exactly the sort of thing that the BBC would play on like Sunday night primetime viewing. It's just so good. I mean, as someone who loves like Passenger 57, this is exactly the type of kind of like thrilling series. And it's only like 7 episodes, which is great.
Oh, perfect. And I've seen a lot of the memes on Twitter that have really piqued my curiosity. Ashley, last word to you.
I'm going to switch it up a bit. Halle Bailey, who you know from Chloe and Halle, our lovely Little Mermaid, she has released her first solo song today. It is called Angel. This is a big deal. You know, Chloe went solo forever ago. This is Halle's first time really stepping out. I love the song. It's absolutely amazing. So go stream it for Clear Skin and a healthy weekend. It's the best.
Who doesn't want clear skin and a healthy weekend? Great. Thank you so much for these picks. Thank you all for being here and having this chat with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Ray is a comedian, actor, and host of the podcast TV I Say. She's in Los Angeles. Hannah Flint is a film, TV critic, and author of Strong Female Character based in London, UK. Jen Sookfong Lee is the author of Superfan and an editor in Burnaby, BC.
I'm a rambler and a rover, and a wanderer it seems. I've traveled all over, chasing after my dreams.
What a beautiful voice. That's a bit of The Pineywood Hills by Buffy Sainte-Marie. We're playing that because Buffy Sainte-Marie just announced she's retiring from live performances. She said, quote, "I've made the difficult decision to pull out of all scheduled performances in the foreseeable future. Arthritic hands and a recent shoulder injury have made it no longer possible to perform to my standards. Sincere regrets to all my fans and family." Here at Commotion, we wish Buffy all the best for her health. And for more on this story, go to CBC News. Before we go, I want to tell you about the amazing team who helped get Commotion on the air. Commotion is produced by Stuart Berman, Ty Callender, Jean Kim, Jane Van Couverden, and Jess Lowe. Our digital producer is Amelia Ekbal. Jean Kim is also our director today. Our engineer is Sam Hashemi. The senior producers this week, Danielle Grogan and John Perry. Anne McKeegan is our exec. Our intern is Mofe Adeniran. I'm Amil Niazi, sitting in for Elamin Abdelmahmoud. Elamin's back in the chair on Monday. Thank you so much for listening to Commotion.